Hey folks, Bob Rees here with the guides forecast. I'm in Astoria. Stephen Spicy Gettel is in Rockaway, Nadana Beach, I guess, but he's been putting some time in on the Nehalem and on out of Garibaldi. We're just going to give a little YouTube report that we'll send out to the public. But appreciate everybody being subscribers to the Guides Forecast and the Guides Forecast YouTube channel. Stephen, you got a YouTube channel too, don't you?
I do.
What's it labeled as?
Well, it's 503 at Spicy TV. Um, yeah, Spicy's Fishing. If you just type Spicy's Fishing, it'll pop up. It's
Great.
also there's a link on my website. When you go to the videos, it takes you there too.
And
Yeah,
your website is?
it's spicysfishing.com.
Right on. Well, cool. Well, thanks for taking a minute to chat with me. I think we're both a little tired. You said you didn't get your nap in today. So sorry for that.
Yeah, the fish didn't. The fish were lazy today. We didn't get bit till a quarter to two.
That sounds like Tillamook Bay fishing, but
Little
anyway, it's great having you on. I think the last time we did one of these reports, we were spring salmon fishing in downtown Portland and had the rod go off behind you. It looks like you're trolling with the rod right there over your shoulder. So this is a fitting
yeah,
conversation.
that's actually a shot of the Nehalem. Looking west. There in the fog right there.
I recognize it.
Yeah,
You
that
had me
river.
out there. I don't know, was it last year you took me out fishing in that Reach River and caught me my one of my rare wild coho?
Yep, and that was probably September sometime. They're just starting to show up out there. We've seen a couple real nice ones jump. We saw another couple land a fish that it was a big fish, and we were sure it was a Chinook, and it wasn't. It was a coho. They released it, and um, yeah, so they're in there. They're starting to show up. I think a week from now it should be pretty hot in there.
Oh, excellent. Good. Well, let's go into a little bit about it. I know you're kind of just getting your season started down there, but you fished on the Halem today, and I saw a photograph of the whopper you got. Did you weigh how big that Chinook was?
With the crappie scale, it was about 15, 14, 15.
Man, you know how to make a fish look big, brother. That looked like a
I do.
deep bodied Chinook.
Well, I mean the genetics on those fish are just crazy. They are built for speed. We got that fish in 15 feet of water with 17 feet out and a 16-ounce sled with a 2.5 cowgirl spinfish with the pink hoochie and the tuna krill mix. And by the time I got the net, got the other rod just reeled up and grabbed the net, he had 180 feet of line out. They are
Wow.
athletes. They are athletes, those fish, and they're incredible looking. This was a buck, but yeah, just built slabs, just chunky, thick, fat slabs. Yeah,
Wow.
and
That's cool.
it's coho red. It's just the most beautiful meat. This fish.
Yeah, I saw a fish that Christopher Topoulos caught there a week ago, and I know you fished with him there. I don't know if it was that day he got a Chinook, but the color of the flesh on that Chinook that he cut sounds very similar to what you witnessed, almost sockeye red, So
Yeah, yeah.
that's
And
pretty cool.
I noticed the blood. The color of the blood was real dark red, darker than anything I've seen all season. It was just really interesting. And I don't know if I just never noticed that before, or if it's something different about what they've been eating, or what. I think I noticed that on a coho too. I think I mentioned something to you about the blood state being staining really bad.
Oh wow, I don't recall that. Huh. That's an interesting observation. Well, this fish came. What did you tell me? Slightly downstream of the confluence with the North Fork and Halem today.
Yeah, yep,
Excellent.
and
Well,
that shallow stretch.
and I don't know the Nehalem all that well. It'll be good to have you down there to get reports from from you this fall. Are you planning on staying on the Nehalem for the next? I mean, I know you do out of Garibaldi too, and we'll hear a little bit about what you're doing in Garibaldi. But especially as the coho starts showing, and we have some catch and keep opportunities for wild coho on Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays. Are you planning on fishing in the Nehalem quite a bit? It's pretty close to where you're residing down there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a loaner truck that only has two-wheel drive, and both the ramps up here are kind of sketchy. So, it's going to be a timing thing. The low tide stuff you know, is sketchy on both those ramps. But Garibaldi isn't so bad. But, I get my boat's only 20 feet, so I get, shut out a lot. I'm hoping that Tillamook Bay fishes a little better this year to spend some time out there. Uh, the Nehalem, you're limited on how many fish you can get there. So if I get trips, I'll spend more time there, but I'll probably get my fish, Nehalem fish, you know, within a week or so, probably. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Great. Well, what's your standard outfit for targeting? Does it deviate between Chinook and coho, or what do you? It sounds like you're certainly using spinfish, but what are you oftentimes using for Nehalem Bay salmon?
Last year, I mean, I've always done well with spinners, and the Cascade Coast Guard blade's been real good for me. I also have done that sand shrimp spinner that I do in the Willamette. I've done well with both species up here. Um, However, the spinfish has just been phenomenal. Last year, I got both fish on spinfish. Using the color orange quite a bit was good for me on both the baits and the flashers. Today, we didn't have any orange. It was just that cowgirl,
And
and
remind me the what colors are on the cowgirl. I'm not that familiar with.
uh, it's like the Yakima fluorescent red and chartreuse more or less, and it's got sort of a gold and a glow on the belly. Yeah, it's been it's been my number one bait all fall.
Oh, good, good. Well,
I found some canned krill meat, and I've been mixing that with the tuna and with salmon slammer, and it's been excellent.
all right. Well, as a general rule, we tell our readers, on some of these bigger tide exchanges, we're in a minus tide series right now, which also equates to a stronger incoming tide following that minus tide. The reaches of river, that fish the best on the stronger tides, from what I know about the Nehalem system and most North and Central Coast systems, is that we get to enjoy some fresher fish higher up in the watershed, higher up in the estuary, higher up in the tidewater reaches. You are you're going to probably spend most of your time, especially on these bigger tides, upstream of Wheeler or maybe even upstream of Highway 101 Bridge for the most part.
Well, the way we ran today was the tide was just starting to come in. Um, we rode the tide all the way up to almost to the North Fork, and then turned around and started walking our way back down about one. And it was nice. It was about a 1 mile an hour walk with both rods thumping real nice. I felt like we were really showing our gear well. And then by the time we got to Wheeler, there was so much grass had pushed in, it was time to turn around.
Good.
Um, but we got our fish going downhill on the upstream about 1 mile an hour.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Well, I know this is your first day, so you don't have a lot of information about the Halem, but we'll circle back around with you as we progress into the fall fisheries here. Sounds like you did a little bit of fishing during the summer Chinook season. It seems that that fishery really almost peaks simultaneously when the Buoy 10 fishery's going on. I know you spent some days up here in the Buoy 10 fishery, but I was looking at statistics last night, catch statistics for 2024. There were more Chinook caught in September than there was in August, which surprised me. But I just I have to think that a lot of that has to do with the fact we have a pretty high horsepower buoy 10 fishery going on at that time, and effort probably increases on the Halem in September, and maybe that's why we saw slightly more Chinook retained in September of 2024 than we did in August of 2024. But your feeling about where we're at as far as a Chinook peak for the Nehalem Basin? I know you said that the coho are starting to come in. I know they'll get pretty robust in there come the first part of October, probably all the way through the month of October. But when do you consider the peak for the fall run fish on the Nehalem system?
I mean, for me, I don't really end up spending because I'm fishing in Astoria so much. It's not until this time of the year that I really get much time in there. So I know people do well, been doing well up there a month ago, but there's waves of fish and pods of fish. For me, historically, I've got two really big fish on the Nehalem on today, on the 19th, going 6 years back and then 5 years back, something like that. And so I've always tried to fish this day, and today we got a nice fish, about half the size of the one I got 6 years ago. It was 28 pounds, but that was on the spinner. But and so that this time of year has always been good for me. I don't know if it's the peak. It could be that the water's cooling down and they're maybe a little more bitey higher up. It could be the tides. But I do feel like the coho are waiting for the water to cool down a little bit maybe before they come in.
Yeah. Well, when I did more guiding on Tillamook, it almost was to the day October 1st where it switched over from being largely hatchery coho to largely wild coho. So I think,
Mm.
especially now that there's a wild broodstock, I wrote about this in this week's newsletter. Um, now that that broodstock that's in the North Fork Nehalem and the Trask River hatchery systems are wild broodstock, so it could change the historic run timing for when those hatchery fish come back. So that'll be interesting to find out. So, well, good.
So, so Bob, how is your season wrapping up there? They're still up
Yeah,
there.
yep. I'm still up here. You know, we've had a good history of catching lots of quality hatchery coho this time of year up here, but I am convinced at this point in the season that the coho forecast is over predicted, maybe somewhat significantly. We're just not seeing the numbers that we should be seeing. I do know one boat that caught seven hatchery fish today. They fished a little longer than I did. We only caught one hatchery keeper and let go three wild ones. So that's the way it's been for me for short days, last couple days, maybe eight or nine opportunities, and one, two, maybe three hatchery fish on a good day. So not gangbuster fishing like we've seen some years. Slightly disappointed about that, but um, there's a dog barking over here. There's so many elk running around downtown Hammond. You never know when you're going to run into one around here. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
crazy there.
but the winds were whippy last 2 days below the bridge, and so we didn't get to drop crab pots, and we didn't get to fish down there near marker one or buoy 10, which has not been very productive in recent weeks anyway. So we're spending all our time on the flats above the bridge on the Washington side, fishing 11 to 16, 17 foot of water, doing a fast troll with the pro trolls, and the spin fish have been working well. Lacey DeWert of Total Fisherman Guide Service, she was schooling me on get out the ocean gear because they were biting nose above the bridge on the Washington side real well when she fished last. She had to, thank God she's a principal, get her out of here so I stand a chance of catching a fish. But and we did get one bite on a spinner up here, but the spin fish stuffed with tuna bloodline seems to be producing some fairly steady action for me. And the metallic pink has been the color that's gone over the most for coho up here. So bring some metallic pinks. I did run that rotten banana. I found a couple rotten bananas, spin fish there, but ended up having some poor leader. Lost both those in no time flat. Those were working real well. So and we're allowed to retain Chinook up here now too, but which of course I haven't seen one in a couple days. So, but there are still some Chinook being caught in that fishery. So, but yeah, we're focusing on the flats above the bridge, and not until about 2 hours into incoming tide we have that minus tide, as you know. which isn't very productive for fishing until the tide turns and starts coming in. So I did a 10 o'clock start today. I'm going to drop crab pots because I don't think the winds are supposed to be too bad tomorrow. Get down in the estuary and drop the crab gear, and then be sure to be above the bridge probably no later than 10:30 tomorrow to take advantage of the biters that are on the flats up there. We were catching some fish in the blind channel on the north side of blind channel, about 20 to 25 foot of water, doing an upstream troll on the first part of incoming tide. But that didn't seem to really pan out the last 2 days. And there's a lot of seals and sea lions up here too. Only by an act of God have I not had a fish taken by a seal or sea lion this whole season. That's a record for
Wow.
me.
That's a
So
record for anybody.
yeah, yeah. So so anyway, yeah, the fishery's going. I think tomorrow might be one of my last days up here. The October, the days of an October hatchery coho fishery are gone. I mean, last I fished, had really good success in the mid-October, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And then last 2, 3, 4 years, those October coho have been highly inconsistent. Those are mostly destined for those Southwest Washington hatcheries. So yeah, I'm gonna call it a wrap. I'm gonna come down and see about getting on Spicy's boat for my 1, 2, or 3 wild coho I'm allowed in the basin down there. So it'd be great to join you down there. I may see about fishing offshore. That ocean coho quota is only at about 48% as of the 14th of September. And I heard the last couple of days were challenging as well. You put in some days for that non-mark select ocean coho fishery. Tell us a little bit about what you've been seeing down there when you've been fishing out of Garibaldi.
Well, my last trip out was a little a little more difficult. We were fishing herring and the 360 at the same time, which I don't really like doing, but that's what we were doing. So I felt a little bit out of my groove. But we went let's see, we went out to 220 feet because that's generally where the jellyfish have stopped. And we fished through there. I guess about an hour we got a fish. Within an hour, the second hour we lost the fish on the herring, and then we just kept grinding, and that was all we got. So we came in at about 2:30. We went out at 8. It was a short day, but prior to that, I've done extremely well, and finding fish. There's plenty of fish in close, but they're in a lot of jellyfish. So I was running having two rigs, and I'd run one for like 2 minutes, and then bring it in, and then clip the other one on and send it, and I'm cleaning up one while I'm fishing the other, and it was getting bit that way. But if it gets so bad to a point, if you can't run gear for like 2 minutes, you're kind of done. So,
Wow.
we've been running out and having to go pretty deep to find the fish, but it seems like there's more fish in closer. So if you can find a spot in close and get out of those jellyfish, or fish them just to, because they'll bite in there. You get your gear in front of them as long as you don't have that crap on your bait. Um,
And by fishing close, what is the water depth that you're referencing?
oh, 40 feet all the way to 100 feet. That whole zone seems like there's a lot of fish in it. I noticed when I dropped my crab pots, the fish that I was marking, there was a ton of jellyfish, and I started throwing. The sun hadn't even come up yet, and this was a couple, I don't know, 10 days ago maybe, but I was throwing a buzz bomb, and I still think that's viable. At the tide change out there, is throwing buzz bombs and jigs, and it wasn't picking up any jellyfish. It wasn't getting any light either. But yeah, I think there's because I've seen them, I've caught them with rockfish jigs right on the surface. They'll come right up and just swim all around, and so I think there's casting spinners, and that's all pretty viable. And the nice thing about that retrieval fishing is your gear stays a lot cleaner than when you're just dragging through it.
Yeah, Roger. Well, good. Well, there's still a lot of season left, both in the salt and in the estuaries. We'll be back in touch with you. I appreciate you sharing the information you do. I know you're going to be guiding down there for a while. You got some trips, but if folks get a chance to get out fishing with you, whether it be the Nehalem or maybe in the salt, What's a good phone number for them to reach out to you?
Uh, the best way to get a hold to communicate with me is through text or email. And my cell phone number is 503-999-0904. And my email is spiciesfishing@gmail.com. And yeah, and you can also message me through my website as well or Facebook. I've got a Facebook page too.
Excellent. Well, thanks for your time today, Stephen. And like I say, I'm going to have more time on my hands, so we'll do a few more of these reports, and I'll be seeing if I can become a stowaway on the fishing vessel, spicy, whatever we call it there.
That's the Fintruder, Bob.
Intruder.
The Fintruder is her name, and yeah, and yeah, she fishes well. It took a while to get for her to get warmed up to you, Bob, but you've done well on her as of the last couple, two, three trips.
That's so true. Well, great. Always appreciate talking to you. Yeah, have a great season down there. We'll be back in touch soon.
Thanks, Bob.
Take care.